3, 2, 1, go.
Greetings, Facebook Live. Welcome to WKYC Studios. Ben Axelrod, Matt Florjancic, coming to you live. Just about 20 minutes to go here until kickoff between the Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football, which you can watch here on Channel 3. Matt, we were here 8 days ago after the Browns beat the Baltimore Ravens 40-25 to take first place in the AFC North, but no time to rest in the NFL, as if they are going to stay in first place, they're going to need another win tonight over the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, nice way to come off of a big victory in Baltimore, having to travel across the country. National spotlight once again on your team for the third time in 4 weeks, but this team seems to thrive off of it. Honestly, they played well against the Rams. They played well enough where they should have won the game. They played well enough to win the game in New York and pulled out a 20-point win. Now they have a chance to go out and face an undefeated San Francisco team that, while their record is 3-0, it doesn't tell the whole story of their season. They struggled mightily against the Steelers going into the bye week. And they, depending upon what you do offensively, this 49ers team could be vulnerable for the Browns.
Yeah, I think one thing about this 49ers team is offensively they're pretty inconsistent. They're banged up a little bit with Tevin Coleman, their starting running back, still out. Jimmy Garoppolo is a quarterback who's been up and down since he's assumed that starting job in San Francisco 2 years ago. But defensively, this is a very good 49ers team, a team that added Nick Bosa with the number 2 pick in the draft. And seems like they've been stocking up on that defensive side of the ball now for the better part of the past 5 years.
Yeah, I think the count is 5 first-round picks along that defensive front. So that's a whole lot to deal with for the offensive line tonight.
It is, and that's been one of the keys for the Browns this season is they've played as well as their offensive line has played, and at times that's been good, and at times, like against the Titans, and sometimes against the Rams and Aaron Donald and Clay Matthews III, not so well. But we know this is a Browns team that going on the road doesn't faze them. They're 2-0 on the road, and winning in New York and winning in Baltimore last week, San Francisco coming off a bye week. But what I'm interested in seeing is how this Browns offense now, after all the success they had in Baltimore last week with that game plan of, Odell was such a focal point as far as Baltimore's defense was concerned, focusing their attention on him and what the Browns were able to do elsewhere with Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb. How do the Browns now kind of counter-adjust for that and the idea that Odell might be more involved?
Well, I think it's a good thing if Odell is more involved and gets more targets and catches. That usually leads to good things. But if San Francisco takes a like-minded approach and tries to isolate him and take him away, the other guys have proven now that they can step up, and they will step up in those times. And they're also getting a little bit more help on the wide receiver front because Antonio Callaway is back and he is active for tonight's game. So there are opportunities for plays to be made, and I think Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, Antonio Callaway, and even Ricky Seals-Jones, the tight end, is kind of flown under the radar. They're going to make plays when their opportunities come.
Yep. Health-wise, getting Morgan Burnett, the starting safety, back another week with Demarius Randall back as well. Both Jarvis Landry cleared concussion protocol. Yep. He'll be out there on the field, which is obviously huge for the Browns. Both starting corners out for the third straight week. Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward still out with those hamstring injuries, and then Rashard Higgins out again. But you mentioned Antonio Callaway back into the fold, another weapon at Baker Mayfield's disposal. And we saw a lot of Damian Ratley last week, and if you wanted to pick apart what went wrong for the Browns last week, Damian Ratley did not play especially well. So I'm interested to see what kind of shape Antonio Callaway is in. I know there was some buzz around camp that he didn't show up in the best of shape, but he's going to be out there, right? And he's going to be a contributor.
He's going to have to be. They kept him on the active 46-man roster. They expect him to compete and compete well for this team. He had a lot of inconsistencies last year. There were moments where he looked like a game breaker, and then there were moments where he couldn't hold on to the ball. You're hoping that with another year under his belt, he's able to overcome those problems a little quicker and maybe not have as many of them. But still a lot to prove for him after missing the first 4 games of the season. And like you said, it's going to come down to conditioning. I think how many snaps he does get I would think maybe you could expect him in about 40% of the snaps offensively tonight, and that may be on the high end. But, we'll see what the game plan is for the 49ers.
Yeah, and as far as the 49ers defensively are concerned, they have Richard Sherman at cornerback. Odell Beckham Jr. was on the pregame show with Randy Moss talking about just matching up with a bigger corner like Richard Sherman and what that's like, and how Odell always likes those matchups. But that's one part of San Francisco's defense that I think is vulnerable. Akello Witherspoon out for the 49ers, and he's a guy who's matched up well with Odell throughout his career. But I think this feels like an Odell Beckham Jr. game to me. Maybe it's from what we saw on what we saw on Monday night against the Jets a few weeks ago. But Odell has a way of showing up when the lights are bright, and tonight obviously qualifies as such.
Yeah, he does have a way about him on these primetime games, and that goes back to his rookie year. And he is never disappointed under the primetime lights, under the spotlights of the national audience. And I would be surprised if he doesn't have a much better game than he had stat-wise against the Ravens. But the thing that really kind of went underappreciated is, he only had those 2 catches for 20 yards, but he made a lot of downfield blocks for a lot of really good plays.
Yeah.
So he was able to impact the game that way. And at the end of the day, all he cares about is getting that win, and that's exactly what he helped do last week, and that's what he's going to try to do tonight.
Yeah, I know I've been asked, and I'm sure you have too, is how much longer is Odell Beckham Jr. going to be happy with 2 catches for 20 yards and stat lines that look like that? And as long as they keep winning, theoretically, that shouldn't be a problem. I think wide receivers, and especially star wide receivers, they'd always like to see those numbers a little bit higher. But kind of what I was getting at earlier is, if this game plan for the Browns is still successful, it's going to sort itself out. Because if you focus all your attention on Odell Beckham Jr. and leave yourself susceptible to Nick Chubb running for 180 yards and Jarvis Landry going for 170, you're going to have to readjust things. That's not a sustainable defensive attack, and that's going to open up Odell for those 8 or 9 catch games that we've become so accustomed to seeing. But I think it's just something that's going to sort itself out. And with Antonio Callaway coming back tonight, that's one of the luxuries this Browns offense has.
I would agree with you on that. When you take a look at what this Browns offense did without Odell Beckham really impacting the game from a catch standpoint, they went absolutely nuts. 2 guys combined, Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb, combined for over 320 yards of total offense. You're not going to get that all the time. That was a very good game by both guys, but there are opportunities to make plays, and if Beckham can't find a way, he's going to try to help somebody else make a play. And it's really what they said all along, going back to when they first got Odell in the fold. It's pick your poison.
Yeah.
Who do you want to try and stop? Who are you going to try to take away? And then how are you going to be able to do it?
Yeah. I think we've made it 8 minutes now without mentioning Baker Mayfield's name.
Wow, that's a record.
Talking about him in depth. What have you made, though, of these first 4 weeks of Baker's, the start to his sophomore season, so to speak here? A little bit of a slow start. I called it a quiet 356 yards last week, if there is such a thing. But
there definitely was last week.
It's kind of one of those things where the expectations were so high. I don't know if he was ever going to live up to them, but lo and behold, after 4 weeks, he has his team sitting at 2-2.
And in the top the AFC North Division standings as well. So looking at Baker, it's been inconsistent. He's had some good moments. He's had some bad moments. And like you said, that quietly got over the 350-yard mark last week. But I've been pleased with a lot of things I've seen. I think last week they tried to simplify the game plan, and Baker looked comfortable. I mean, he came out first drive, 7 of 8, 87 yards, touchdown, just looked good. Actually, that was their second drive. The first drive they did not score on. But that second drive, he looked really, really good, and he got back to doing what made him very good last year, which was just taking what the defense gives you, getting the ball out quick, and not thinking about too much.
We've talked so much about this schedule in the first 7 games. We're more than halfway through it now. They're sitting at 2-2. 49ers tonight, Seahawks coming to Cleveland next Sunday, then the bye week, and then heading out to Foxborough for that highly anticipated game against the New England Patriots. I think they're at a point now where, it's not must win week after week. I think once they got to 2-2, once they tied up the Ravens, there's some room for error now. But when you just consider the two games after this, where do you rank, I guess, the importance level of tonight's game?
I think every game is important, but I would say that this is, of the three, this is probably the most important because it's your opportunity to get over the 500 mark, to come back home, bring some good momentum back to First Energy Stadium, and then I would put the Seahawks game right behind it because they need to start winning at home. Mm-hmm. They've played well on the road. They have not played as well at home. That goes back to the opener against Tennessee, and then they lost the Sunday nighter to the Rams. They have to bring some momentum into a home game against a loaded Seattle Seahawks team, and that's why I think tonight is most important. Look, when we play the Patriots in 4 weeks, we're really not going to know what this Browns offense can do on all cylinders because Kareem Hunt still won't be on the field.
Right.
So we're still kind of trying to tread water till that point comes where you can get a full complement of guys around Baker. Baker has a lot of guys around him, but you're going to add another Pro Bowler to this roster in a few weeks here if all checks out. And, I'd like to think that by the time they get past the Patriots, we'll start to know very much about what this identity really is, and then we'll add another playmaker to it. But I think tonight you have to play well. You can't just have a flat performance like you did in Week 1.
Yeah, I think it's really, to me, these first 7 games, it was all about coming out of it 3-4. That to me was like the magic number, worst case scenario, where you could be and still feel pretty good heading into a back end of the schedule that's pretty easy.
Favorable.
If you look at, nothing in the NFL is easy, but if you just look at playing the Steelers twice now, playing the Bengals twice, the Dolphins, the Bills, even though the Bills are better than expected, that's an easier back end of the schedule than these first 7 games.
Yeah, no question.
3-4, I feel like keeps everything manageable. So they're sitting at 2-2. So of these next 3 games, they really, to me, only need to win one of them. Ideally, you win 2. So as long as, look, going to Foxborough and playing the Patriots.
That's a whole different animal.
Yeah, that's not the game I'm going to count on this team winning. But I think they need to at least split these next 2 between the 49ers tonight and the Seahawks coming here. If you can win both of them, then you're sitting pretty heading into Foxborough, and then we can have a different conversation about that game. But I think they just need to split these next 2 games to really feel good about that back end of the schedule. So, I think from an importance level, you can lose tonight, and I agree with you, playing well is important too. But you can lose tonight, and as long as you come back and win next Sunday, I think you still feel pretty good about where things are.
Yeah, I would like to see them at worst case scenario be 3-4 going into the Patriot, or actually into the Patriot game. Yeah, and I don't know that they are necessarily putting too much pressure on themselves to be at a certain point. They're just trying to play the best that they can this week, and I think that's the right mentality to have, and it's the only mentality that's going to get them where they ultimately want to go.
Yeah, and if you look at the odds makers and things of that nature, the 49ers are favored tonight, but even looking ahead now, the Browns are favored against the Seahawks. So odds makers think they should lose tonight and win next week, but I could just as easily see that reversed or see them win both or see them lose both. We're going to learn a lot, I think, about this Browns team here in these next 2 weeks especially.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You're going to find out what kind of defense they are, what their offensive identity is really going to be, and what kind of leader Baker Mayfield has developed into in year 2. This is going to be the meat of the schedule, the toughest part of the schedule coming up these next 3 weeks, and they have an opportunity to really make a statement here starting tonight.
Yeah. All right, just about 5 minutes to go here until kickoff on Monday Night Football. You got a prediction?
Yes, I do. Browns 24, 49ers 17.
I like that. I haven't thought about my final score. I'm going to say Browns 21, 49ers 20. This feels like a learn how to win game.
Yeah.
This feels like a game where the Browns are going to come out, and they had the 2 blowout wins over the Jets and Ravens. It feels like they need one of those grinded out type of games, and I think that's what you'll get from them tonight. So I don't know. It's good. I think it's going to be close either way.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing in the NFL. It usually is. So that's going to do it for us, though, here from WKYC Studios. Check out Monday Night Football, Browns and 49ers on Channel 3. We will be updating you on WKYC.com all throughout the night and heading into tomorrow after the game. That's going to do it for us. For Matt Florjancic, I'm Ben Axelrod. Thanks for watching on Facebook Live.